Blood was still dripping from
Elena, I
my
have the
IV
court order.
when my
It's time.
husband walked into the
You
hospital
didn't
room.
think you could keep her forever, did you?
I had given
Holy
birth
shit.
2 hours ago.
Give the
This
baby
was
to me,
hours.
Elena.
My body was torn apart.
$50,000.
My baby
sorry,
girl
Miss
was
Sinclair,
sleeping in
but
my
you need to
arms
step
for the
away from
very
the bed
first
now.
time, and he brought divorce papers. But that was not the worst part. Behind him stood his mistress. She was wearing my grandmother's necklace, the one I thought I had
has gone
lost.
on long enough.
And behind her, a
Accept
police
your
officer.
defeat.
They were not there to
I can't do
congratulate
that,
me.
Richard.
They were there
That's a good
to
one.
take my
Sinclair,
baby.
you're under arrest.
Building
Get your hands
tension,
off
what
me!
they did not know was that I had been
We got the
watching,
bag secured, moving
listening,
out.
documenting everything for months. They thought I was just a nurse, a nobody, a woman too tired and too broken to fight back. They thought wrong. What happened next would destroy their careers, expose a corrupt judge, uncover a secret so disturbing it made national news, and send every single one of them to prison. My name is Elena Brooks, and this is the story of how I lost everything, only to rise from the ashes and burn their entire world to the ground. The lesson this story will show you one truth that every woman needs to hear. The system may be rigged against you, but silence is not your only option. When you document everything, find your allies, and refuse to give up, even the most powerful enemies can fall. The meaning. This is more than a story about revenge. This is
Damn,
about
how'd
every
that
mother
end so
who has been
fast?
told
Holy
she is not
shit,
good
that
enough.
sold for
Every woman who has been
$36.
gaslit into doubting herself.
Damn, I missed
Every
it,
person who has
guys. I
faced a
missed all
system designed to
these.
crush them. It is about finding
missed
strength
all
when you
of
have
them.
nothing left, building a tribe when you feel completely alone, and proving that your worth is not determined by those who cannot see it. If you have ever felt powerless, if you have ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, if you have ever wondered whether fighting back is worth it,
I missed
this story
all
is
of
for
it.
you. Blood dripped
Damn.
from my IV line onto the crisp white hospital sheets. The rhythmic beeping of monitors filled the room, mixing with the soft whimpers of my newborn daughter pressed against my chest. I had been awake for 36 hours. My body felt like it had been torn apart and reassembled by someone who had never seen a
Where
human
did you
being
get those
before.
Simpsons minifigs?
But none of that mattered, because in my
I bought
arms
a
was the most
lot
beautiful
on
creature
eBay.
I had ever seen. 10 fingers,
Yeah,
10 toes,
these are what I
a tuft
sell
of dark
on
hair
Whatnot.
that stuck up in every
This
direction,
is part of
and
my store.
eyes that, when they opened, seemed to hold all the wisdom of the universe. I named her Lily, after my grandmother, after the flowers that grew in my mother's garden before she died, after hope itself. 2 hours. That is how long I had with her before my world ended.
Do you
The
have
door
the
to my
belts?
hospital room burst
No.
open with enough force to rattle the medical equipment on the walls. I looked up, expecting a nurse, maybe a doctor with test results. Instead, I saw my husband. Marcus walked in first, wearing the charcoal gray suit I had bought him for his birthday last year. Behind him came Victoria Sinclair, his paralegal, dressed in designer clothes that cost more than my monthly salary. And behind her, a uniformed police officer with his hand resting on his belt. For one confused moment, I thought there had been an accident, a death in the family, some emergency that required a police escort. Then I saw what Marcus was holding, a manila envelope, thick with documents, and the expression on his face. Cold and satisfied, like a predator who had finally cornered his prey. "Sign these," he said.
Damn, I missed
He dropped the
all of
envelope
them.
on
Why
my
is this
hospital
still
bed,
on my thing?
right next to where I was
Wait.
cradling our daughter. His voice was flat, professional, the same tone he used when he was destroying opposing
I'm
counsel
buying this
in court.
tonight.
I stared at the envelope.
I'm
My
buying
brain,
this tonight.
foggy from exhaustion and pain medication,
All these
struggled to
dimensions.
process what was happening. "What is this?" I whispered. Tori stepped forward then. That was what everyone called Victoria. Tori, like she was someone's fun-loving friend, instead of the woman who had been sleeping with my
Alright.
husband for the past
Alright,
2
let
years.
me get the build and I'll show
"Let
you
me help
exactly
you
what
understand,"
it looks like now.
Tori said. Her voice was sweet like antifreeze, tastes pleasant, kills you slowly. She pulled documents from the envelope, and spread them across my bed, covering my legs, which were still numb from the epidural. Petition for dissolution of marriage. That means divorce, in case you are too stupid to understand legal terms. Temporary emergency custody order. That means your daughter is coming home with Marcus tonight. Psychiatric evaluation results. That means you have been declared mentally unstable and unfit for motherhood. I looked at the documents. The words blurred and swam before my eyes. This could not be real. This had to be a nightmare, a hallucination brought on by the drugs and the exhaustion and the trauma
And
of
so
childbirth. But the
this
weight of those
opens
papers
up.
on my legs was real. The cold air from the hallway was real. And the expression on my husband's face,
This
that mixture of
opens up.
contempt and triumph, was very, very real. Marcus, I said. My voice cracked. What is happening? Why are you doing
I'm
this?
definitely buying it.
He did not answer. He did not even
Oops.
look at me. He
I
was
pulled
checking his
that
watch
off.
like he had somewhere more important to be.
That
Tori
opens
answered
up.
instead. What is happening is that
That
you are
opens
going to
up.
sign these papers, take the $50,000 we are
And my
offering,
little dude's
and
in
disappear. She
there
smiled,
chilling.
and I noticed something glinting at her throat. A necklace. My grandmother's necklace.
Then
The one that had gone missing from my jewelry box 3 months ago. She was wearing my dead grandmother's
you make the
necklace
train
while
go
standing in my
around
hospital
and the
room,
little thing
watching my
move
marriage
in
die.
there.
That is mine, I said stupidly. That necklace. It belonged to my grandmother. Tori touched it, running her fingers along the delicate gold chain. Marcus gave it to me, she said. He said you would not miss it. He said you would
Better
not
get it
miss a
before it
lot of things.
retires.
The police officer shifted uncomfortably in the doorway. He was young, maybe 25, with the look of someone who had signed up to protect and serve and was now questioning his career choices. Ma'am, he said to me, Sam.
Now I have no idea where this
His voice
goes
was
yet.
almost
Maybe
apologetic.
on this side.
I am here to ensure compliance
I don't know.
with the custody order.
Definitely.
If you refuse to cooperate,
Yeah,
I will have to take the child by force.
that's cool.
Take the child.
I like
Take
it.
Lily. Take my daughter, who was 2 hours old,
I like
who had
it a
never
lot.
been more than
I like
6
it.
inches
I
from
like
my
it a
body,
lot.
who did not even know yet that the world could be cruel. No, I said. The word came out broken, desperate. No, you cannot do this. She needs me. I am her mother. You are mentally unstable, Marcus said finally. He still was not looking at me. He was looking at Lily, and the expression on his face was not love. It was ownership. The court has determined that you are a danger to yourself and to this child. The evidence is clear. What evidence? I demanded. What are you talking about? Tori pulled out another document. She held it up so I could see. Your medical records, she said. 2 visits to a therapist after your mother died. A 6-month prescription for antidepressants during a difficult time at work. A note from your
My
Have you
supervisor
heard of the
about
program to rent
stress-related
Legos?
absences.
You build them,
She
return them.
lowered the document and looked at
Oh,
me
shit,
with mock
no.
sympathy. You poor thing. You have been struggling for
No.
so long.
What?
And now, with the hormones
How
and
you
the
gonna
trauma
build
of
them and
childbirth,
return them?
you have
What?
become a
I ain't
danger
never
to
heard of
everyone
that.
around you. It is really quite sad. I had seen a therapist
Where did
twice.
you hear that
Twice.
at?
After my mother died of cancer, I had talked to a professional about my grief. I had taken medication to help me through the worst of it. I had done what doctors recommended, what
How is
society
that
encouraged,
possible?
what everyone says you should do when you are struggling.
I
And
find
now
it
they were
weird and
using
highly
it to
dangerous.
take my baby. The custody order was
Yeah,
signed by Judge
I would
Richard
say
Sinclair,
so.
Tori continued. She smiled again, and this time the smile reached her eyes. That is my father, in case you were
All right,
wondering.
let's see what we
He takes a
get
very
out the
personal
advent.
interest in cases involving mentally unstable mothers. Her
Day
father.
21.
The judge who had signed the order taking my child was the father of the woman who had stolen my husband. This is illegal, I said. My voice was getting stronger now,
All pink.
fueled by desperation. This is a conflict of interest. You cannot do this.
I have
We
no
already did
idea.
it, Tori said simply. And there
What
is
kind of pink
nothing you
thing?
can do to stop us. She reached for Lily then, her perfectly manicured hands extended toward my daughter like claws.
It came across my
I
feed
held
the other
Lily
day.
tighter.
I don't
She
trust
started
anybody to
crying,
return it
sensing
completely.
something was wrong, and the sound of her distress cut through me
Well,
like a
they
knife.
talking about
Do not
renting them
touch her,
from you?
I said.
Love potion.
My voice was low, dangerous.
Love potion. There you
A
go.
voice I did not
Yep.
recognize as my own. Do
Love
not you
potion
dare
number 9.
touch my daughter. The police officer stepped forward. Ma'am, please, do not make this harder than it has to be. But I could not let go. Every instinct in my body, every fiber of my being, every cell that had spent 9 months building this child from nothing
Love potion
screamed at me to
number
protect her.
9.
I looked at Marcus, my husband,
What?
the man I had loved for 7
Woo.
years,
Cold.
the man I had supported through
Not
law
from me.
school,
It's a company
working
that
double
rents out
shifts
sets.
and night shifts and holiday shifts
Seriously.
to pay his tuition,
People's thinking
the man
of
who
all
had promised
kinds
to
of
love
ways
me
make
until
money,
death
right?
do us part. Please, I whispered. Please, Marcus, do not do this. She is your daughter. For a moment, just a moment, I thought I saw something flicker in his eyes. Doubt,
That's
maybe,
what I'd do.
or guilt,
or the
I'll ghost
rent
of
you
the man
a
he used to
Lego
be.
for $100.
Then it was gone.
You got
Sign
1
the papers,
week to
Elena.
build it, and
His
you
voice
gotta
was
get
ice.
back to me.
Make this easy for everyone. That was when the nurse walked in. Her name tag said Gloria Jenkins. She was a senior nurse, someone I had worked with for 8 years at St. Catherine's. We were not friends exactly, but we respected each other.
Damn.
She had seen me through difficult shifts and impossible situations and the kind of days that make you question why you ever became a nurse. She took one look at the scene in my room,
Yep.
and her face
Now I don't
went
even let my
hard.
husband near mine.
What is going on here?
Ah!
She demanded. This is a private
Hell
family
no.
matter, Tori said dismissively. We have a court order. I do not care if you have a letter from the president, Gloria said. She moved to stand between Tori and my bed, her body a shield. This woman gave birth 2 hours ago. She is my patient, and you are going to leave this room right now. The police officer looked uncertain. Ma'am, the court order says... The court order can wait until my patient is medically stable, Gloria interrupted. She pulled out her phone. I am calling hospital security, and I am calling the patient advocate. And if you are not out of this room in 60 seconds, I am calling the local news station and telling them that you tried to rip a
I
newborn
dropped my
from her
Hogsmeade
mother's
train
arms.
and almost lost it, lol, let alone
There was a
someone else
long,
doing
tense
that.
moment. Tori looked at Marcus. Marcus looked at the police officer. The police officer looked like he wanted to be anywhere else on Earth. Fine,
Yeah,
Marcus
that'd be
said,
bad.
finally.
I gotta do
He gathered
some
up the
shipping
documents
right quick
and shoved
while
them
we're
back
chilling.
into the envelope. We will be back tomorrow with more officers, and you will sign those papers, Elena. One way or another. He walked out without looking back. Tori followed, pausing at the door to give me one last
They'd go
poisonous
straight
smile.
to jail. More like me though,
Enjoy
lol.
your last night with her, she said. It is the only one you will get. Then they were gone. Gloria closed the door behind them and leaned against it, breathing hard. I stared at her. My body was shaking. Lily was still crying. Thank you, I managed to say. Thank you. Gloria shook her head. Do not thank me yet. I bought you some time, but if they have a real court order, there is only so much I can do. She came to my bedside and helped me adjust Lily, showing me how to hold her so she would calm down. I know what they are doing, Gloria said quietly. I have seen it before, more times than I can count. What do you mean? I asked. Gloria looked at me with eyes that held 15 years of pain. Judge Sinclair, she said, he has been doing this for decades, taking children from mothers who do not have the money or the
I will.
connections to
How much
fight
have
back.
you spent on your
My daughter
collection
was
to
one of
date?
them. Your daughter?
Shit,
Gloria
I
nodded.
don't know,
Her name was
10,000 or
Michelle.
more?
She lost custody of her son in Sinclair's court 7 years ago. The evidence was fabricated, just like yours. The outcome was predetermined before the hearing even started. What happened to her?
No idea.
I asked, though I dreaded the answer. Gloria was quiet for a long moment. She took her own life, she finally said, 3 years after she lost custody. She could not take it anymore. The system broke her. I looked down at Lily, at her tiny face, peaceful now, unaware of the storm that was coming. I am not going to let them take her, I said. I do not know how, but I am going to fight. Gloria nodded slowly. Then you are going to need help, she said, and I know exactly where to find it.
I'm probably between
She
3
pulled
to
a
4
card from her
KRN.
pocket and pressed it into my hand. Call this
I'm
number,
well over
she said.
probably 10,000.
Ask for Derek Coleman. Tell him Gloria sent you. Tell him everything. She squeezed my hand once, hard. And Elena, do not trust anyone. Not the social workers, not the lawyers, not even the other nurses. Sinclair has people everywhere. The only way to survive this is to be smarter than all of them. She left then, closing the door softly behind her. I looked at the card in my hand. Derek Coleman, public defender. A phone number, nothing else. Then I looked at my daughter, at Lily, at the only thing in the world that mattered. I do not know how, I whispered to her, but I am going to get us out of this. I promise.
Bought a lot of figs
She
from
opened
me.
her eyes and looked at me, and
She
in that
was
moment,
asking me
I
today,
swore I saw understanding there.
how do I
Trust,
know how much I
faith.
spend on figs?
She believed in me.
I'd believe that. I'll post
Now
a
I
pic
just
later
had to
this
believe
week
in
once my
myself.
office is
Let me
cleaned
tell you
well.
about my husband. Let me tell you about the
She
man
was
I married,
asking me how
and the
much
man I
spend
discovered
on
he really
figs.
was. I met Marcus Brooks 7
when
years
I
ago at a
buy,
coffee shop near the
and,
hospital. It was one of
I
those
told
perfect
her, I was
meet-cute
like,
moments that you see in
well,
romantic movies. He was a
I
paralegal,
only,
working at a small firm,
I don't
dreaming of
buy
law
on
school.
whatnot
I was a nurse,
to
working double
resell
shifts,
normally. I buy lots.
dreaming of a day when I would
on-
not be so tired.
I try
He
not to
spilled
buy
coffee
like
on my
1 or 2
scrubs.
figs
He
to
apologized
resell.
profusely.
I buy like
He insisted on
20,
buying
30,
me dinner to make up
you
for it.
know.
I should have said no.
And,
I was exhausted. I had a shift starting in 4 hours.
anyhow,
I had laundry to do, and bills to
I
pay,
don't care. I
and
just
1,000
buy 'em.
reasons to go home alone. But there was something about his smile. Something about the way he looked at me. Like I was the most interesting
So
person
she
in the
got
room.
Santa Vader.
Something about the dreams he talked about, the future he imagined, the life he wanted to build. So I said yes.
And,
Our first year together
she
was a
got
fairy
the,
tale. He brought me flowers every
she
week.
got
He
the
cooked dinner
turkey
when I worked late. He rubbed my feet after
for
long
Thanksgiving
shifts
big.
and listened
she
to my
got
stories
Santa
about
Vader,
difficult
don't
patients and told me I was making a difference in the world. When he proposed, I cried. When we got married, I cried harder. When he told me he wanted to go to law school, I promised to support him no matter what. That promise cost me more
We
than I
definitely
ever
need
imagined.
pics of your complete collection.
Law school is expensive.
Yeah.
Textbooks,
I've got a
tuition,
video
fees,
on
living
TikTok
expenses.
of my collection.
Marcus had some
Not
savings,
updated,
but not enough. His parents were middle class, comfortable but not wealthy, and they had already helped his sister through medical school. So I picked up extra shifts, doubles on weekdays, overtime on weekends. Holidays that other nurses wanted off, I volunteered to work. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself it was an investment in our future. I told myself that once Marcus graduated, once he started making real money, everything would be different. For 3 years, I barely saw my husband. He was studying, networking, building connections. I was working, saving, paying bills. We passed each other like ships in the night, exchanging tired kisses and promises that someday things would be better. He graduated at the top of his class. I took out a loan to throw him a party. He passed the bar exam on his first try. I cried with pride. Then he got hired at Morrison and Associates. Morrison and Associates was one of the most prestigious personal injury firms in the state. The partners drove luxury cars and lived in mansions and vacationed in places I had only seen in magazines. Getting hired there was like winning the lottery. Marcus changed after that, slowly at first, so slowly that I did not notice. He started coming home later, working on important cases, he said, building his reputation. His phone became password protected. Client confidentiality, he explained. Standard practice. He bought new suits, expensive ones, without consulting me. He needed to look the part, he said. First impressions matter. And then there was Tori. Victoria Sinclair started at Morrison and Associates 6 months after Marcus
Alrighty, well,
did.
I'm getting home now. Good
She
night
was
and see you
27 years
tomorrow.
old, blonde and
Alright.
beautiful, with a law degree she had never used, and a father who happened to be a family court judge. Marcus mentioned her casually at first. The new paralegal. Smart, ambitious, good at research. Then he mentioned her more often. Tori found a precedent that won a case. Tori suggested a strategy that impressed the partners. Tori. I should have been suspicious. I should have asked questions. I should have noticed the way his eyes lit up when he talked about her, the way his phone buzzed with messages at midnight, the way he smelled like unfamiliar perfume when he came home late. But I was tired. I was working 60 hours a week. I was so focused on building our future that I did not see our present crumbling around me. Then I got pregnant. We had been trying for 2 years. 2 years of negative tests and crushed hopes and well-meaning relatives asking when we were going to start a family. I had almost given up, but the test was positive. 2 pink lines that changed everything. I was so happy. I imagined telling Marcus, seeing his face light up. I planned a special dinner, bought a onesie that said Daddy's little girl, practiced the words I would say. His reaction was not what I expected. He did not smile. He did not cry. He did not sweep me into his arms and tell me this was the best day of his life. He asked about my life insurance policy. He asked if I had updated my will. He asked how this would affect my work schedule, my income, our finances. And then, after a long pause, he forced a smile and said, "Congratulations." I told myself I was imagining things, hormones, emotions, first-time mother jitters. For 9 months, I told myself I was imagining things. The signs were everywhere, if I had been willing to see them. The late nights that got later, the business trips that got longer, the way Tori's name stopped appearing in his stories, which meant he was being careful not to mention her. I found a receipt for jewelry I never received. A hotel charge on a credit card I did not know he had. A text message that I glimpsed before he snatched his phone away. I told myself it was nothing. I told myself to trust him. I told myself that once the baby came, everything would be different. I was such a fool. The worst part is that I should have known better. I am a nurse. I have spent 12 years watching people at their most vulnerable. I have seen marriages fall apart under the pressure of illness. I have seen spouses lie and cheat and abandon each other when things got hard. But somehow, I believed my marriage was different. Somehow I believed that the love we had built was stronger than temptation, stronger than opportunity, stronger than the cold calculations of a man who had decided I was no longer useful. I was wrong. And now, lying in that hospital bed with my daughter in my arms and divorce papers on my legs, I finally saw the truth. Marcus had never loved me. He had used me. He had taken my money and my support and my best years. And now that he did not need me anymore, he was throwing me away like garbage. But he had made one mistake. He had underestimated me. I called Derek Coleman the next morning. He answered on the third ring, and his voice was tired but kind. The voice of a man who had spent too many years fighting, losing battles, but had not given up yet. "This is Derek Coleman," he said. "My name is Elena Brooks," I said. "Gloria Jenkins gave me your number. She said you might be able to help me." There was a pause. When he spoke again, his voice was different, more alert. "Gloria sent you," he repeated. "Then this is about Sinclair." "Yes," I said, and I told him everything. The divorce papers served 2 hours after giving birth. The custody order signed by Judge Sinclair. Tori's connection to the judge, the psychiatric evaluation I had never agreed to. Derek listened, without interrupting. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "This is bad," he finally said. "But it is not hopeless. I have seen Sinclair do this before. I have watched him destroy mothers who had no one to fight for them. But I have also seen him make mistakes." "What kind of mistakes?" I asked. "The kind that happen when someone gets too confident," Derek said. "Sinclair has been doing this for so long that he thinks he is untouchable. He thinks no one will ever challenge him, and that arrogance is going to be his downfall." He paused. "But I need you to understand something, Elena. Fighting Sinclair is not like fighting a normal custody battle. He has money, he has power, he has the entire court system on his side. If you go up against him, you need to be prepared for the worst." I looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully in the hospital bassinet beside my bed. "I am prepared," I said. "Good," Derek said. "Then here's what we are going to do." He gave me instructions. Document everything. Save every text message, every email, every voicemail. Write down every interaction with dates and times. Take screenshots and send copies to multiple email addresses. Create a paper trail that they cannot erase. "And Elena," he added, "find other women who have been through this. Other mothers who lost custody in Sinclair's court. Because if we can prove a pattern, if we can show that this has happened before, then we have something bigger than just your case. We have evidence of corruption." "How do I find them?" I asked. "Start with Gloria," Derek said. "She has been collecting information for years. And there is someone else who might be able to help. A woman named Rosa Martinez. She works as a cleaning lady at St. Catherine's. She has her own history with Sinclair's court, and she knows things that no one else knows." He gave me Rosa's contact information. "Be careful," he warned. "Sinclair has eyes everywhere. Do not trust anyone you do not have to trust. And if something feels wrong, if you sense that you are being watched or followed, call me immediately." "I will," I promised. "One more thing," Derek said. His voice softened. "I know this seems impossible right now. I know you feel alone and scared and like the whole world is against you. But you are not alone. There are people who will fight for you, and we are not going to let them win." I hung up the phone and looked at my daughter. Tomorrow, they would be back. Tomorrow, they would try to take her again. But tomorrow, I would be ready. I was discharged from the hospital 3 days after giving birth. Not because I was medically ready, but because I could no longer afford to stay. My insurance had been through Marcus's job, and someone had conveniently canceled it the day he served me with divorce papers. I had nowhere to go. The house I had lived in for 5 years, the house I had decorated and cleaned and filled with love, was in Marcus's name. He had never added me to the deed. He had promised to do it after we paid off his student loans. He had never followed through. Trust, the most dangerous word in the English language. I found a motel room on the outskirts of town. It was cheap and clean enough, with a bed that smelled like industrial detergent and a television that only got 4 channels. I paid for a week in advance and tried not to think about how quickly my savings were disappearing. Lily slept in a car seat beside the bed. I watched her breathe, counting each rise and fall of her tiny chest, terrified that if I looked away, even for a moment, someone would come and take her. On my second day in that motel room, there was a knock at the door. I froze. My heart started pounding. They had found me. They had come to take Lily. They had... "Elena," a voice called softly. "It is Rosa. Gloria sent me." I looked through the peephole and saw a short, round woman with kind eyes and gray streaks in her dark hair. She was carrying a casserole dish and a grocery bag. I opened the door. "You should not be here," I said, "if they are watching me." "No one followed me," Rosa assured me. She stepped inside and closed the door behind her. I have been doing this for a long time. I know how to be careful. She set the casserole on the small table by the window. You need to eat, she said. You are nursing. Your body needs fuel. She pulled items from the grocery bag. Bread, fruit, cheese, bottles of water. I stared at her. I did not understand why a stranger would help me. I had learned, painfully, that people always had ulterior motives. Why are you doing this? I asked. Rosa sat down on the edge of the bed. She looked at Lily, sleeping peacefully, and her face softened. Because I was you, she said. 15 years ago. My husband took my children. He had money. He had lawyers. I had nothing but my word. And my word meant nothing. What happened? I asked.
Yay.
Rosa's eyes went far away. I lost them, she said. For 7 years, I lost them. My son was 8, and my daughter was 5 when they took them. By the time I got them back, my son was 15, and my daughter was 12. They barely knew me. They called their stepmother Mom. Her voice broke slightly. Those years do not come back, Elena. The birthdays, the first days of school, the nights when they were sick and scared and wanted their mama. Those moments are gone forever. I sat down across from her. I could feel tears forming in my eyes. But you got them back, I said. How? Rosa smiled, but it was sad. I learned how the system works, she said. I found people who knew things. I collected evidence, and most importantly, I found other women who had been through the same thing. We helped each other. We shared information. We built a network. She leaned forward. That network still exists, Elena, and now you are part of it. Over the next hour, Rosa told me everything. There were 14 women who had lost custody in Judge Sinclair's court over the past decade. 14 mothers whose lives had been destroyed by fabricated evidence and predetermined outcomes. Some had given up. Some had moved away. 2 had died. But 4 of them were still fighting, still gathering information, still hoping that someday they would find a way to bring Sinclair down. Rosa had been documenting everything for years. Conversations she overheard while cleaning offices, documents she photographed when no one was looking, connections she traced between lawyers and judges, and wealthy fathers who always seemed to win. She pulled a flash drive from her pocket and handed it to me. This is everything I have, she said. Recordings, documents, names, and dates. It is not enough to prove corruption on its own, but it is a start. I took the flash drive. It was small and ordinary looking, but it felt heavy in my hand. There is something else you need to know, Rosa said. Her voice dropped lower. Judge Sinclair and his daughter. Their relationship is not normal. What do you mean? I asked. Rosa hesitated.
Jane_Wick
I have
used
heard
5
things,
bits to play
she
Ric
said
Flair
carefully.
woo.
Conversations between them that did not sound like a father and daughter. The way she calls him daddy. The way he calls her baby. The way they look at each other when they think no one is watching. She met my eyes. I think Richard Sinclair is more than Victoria's father, she said. I think they are involved. Romantically. Physically. I think that is the real secret they are protecting. I felt sick. That is, I started.
I just
But I could
finished
not
wrapping
finish the
presents.
sentence.
I am exhausted.
Disgusting, Rosa supplied. Yes, it is. And it explains everything. Why Sinclair protects her so fiercely. Why Victoria has never had a real relationship. Why they destroyed your marriage to keep their secret safe. But what does my marriage have to do with their secret? I asked. Rosa shrugged. Maybe nothing. Maybe your husband is just a useful tool, someone Sinclair can control because he has ambition and no morals. But there might be more. There might be a connection we do not see yet. She stood up. I have to go. I have been here too long already. But Elena, be careful. These people are dangerous. They have destroyed other women who tried to fight them. Do not let them destroy you too. She paused at the door. And trust your instincts, she added. If something feels wrong, it probably is. The only person you can really trust is yourself. Then she was gone. I sat alone in that motel room, holding the flash drive, thinking about everything she had said. 14 women, 14 destroyed mothers, one corrupt judge with a
All
terrible
right,
secret,
let's go see
and me,
what
a nurse with no
our
money,
earnings
no
is for
connections,
this
no
week.
power. But I had something
Or this weekend.
they did not
It's
expect.
this weekend,
I had the
actually.
truth, and I was going to use it to burn their world to the ground. The custody hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks after I left the hospital. 2 weeks to prepare, 2 weeks to build my case, 2 weeks without knowing if I would ever see my daughter again after it was over. Derek Coleman worked around the clock. He reviewed every document, every recording, every piece of evidence Rosa had given me.
me. Let's see what we've
He
made
interviewed
so
the
far.
other mothers who had agreed to talk. He built a case that he said was the strongest he had ever presented. But he also warned me not to get my hopes up. Sinclair controls the courtroom, he said. He decides what evidence is admitted. He decides which witnesses are credible. He decides the outcome before the hearing even starts. We can have the best case in the world, and he can still rule against us. Then why bother? I asked. Because we need to create a record, Derek explained. We need to show that we presented evidence and that Sinclair ignored it. That way, when we appeal, we have documentation of his bias. And we need to find his weakness. Every corrupt person has one. We just have to figure out what Sinclair's is. The hearing was held in a courthouse downtown, in a room that smelled like old wood and broken dreams. I sat at the defendant's table, with Derek beside me, my hands clenched so tight, my knuckles turned white. Marcus sat across the aisle, with his team of expensive lawyers.
So
3 of them. I recognized one from billboards around town. Cost $3,000 an hour. Behind him sat Tori, wearing a cream-colored dress that probably cost more than my car. She was still wearing my grandmother's necklace. She smiled at me when I walked in, a smile that said she had already won, and presiding over it all, seated behind an elevated bench like a king on his throne, was Judge Richard Sinclair. He was older than I expected. Silver hair, deep-set eyes, a face that might have been handsome once,
Not bad.
but had hardened into something cruel.
Not bad, Jane.
He looked at me the way a cat looks at a mouse,
$1,700
with
in
interest,
2 days.
with
I've
amusement,
been feeling sick
with the
all day.
absolute certainty that he
Not
was in
bad.
control. The hearing began. Marcus's lawyers went first. They presented their case with surgical precision. Witnesses testified to my mental instability. A psychologist I had never met read from a report filled with lies. Hospital records appeared showing incidents that never happened, each lie built on the last, creating a picture of a woman who was dangerous, unstable, unfit to be a mother. I wanted to scream. I wanted to stand up and call them liars, but Derek had warned me to stay calm. Any outburst would be used against me. Any emotion would be proof of instability. So I sat there and listened to them destroy me, and I said nothing. Then it was our turn. Derek presented our evidence, the pattern of cases in Sinclair's court, the connection between Tori and the judge, the recordings that suggested corruption. He called one of the other mothers as a witness.
I'm gonna go hang out with the wife.
Patricia
We're gonna
Holmes,
watch a movie.
a woman whose husband had taken her children 5 years ago. She told her story with quiet dignity, describing how the evidence against her had been fabricated, how the outcome had been predetermined, how she had lost everything. For a moment, I thought we might have a chance. I thought the truth might matter. Then Sinclair spoke. "The evidence is inadmissible," he said. His voice was cold and final. The recordings were obtained without consent. The witness testimony is hearsay. The pattern analysis is speculation, not fact.
Have a good
He looked at
one,
me
and
directly.
we'll see ya.
Mrs.
in a
Brooks,
little while.
based on the evidence presented today, I am granting full custody of the minor child to Marcus Brooks. You are granted supervised visitation, 2 hours per week, at a
Were you
location
there
to be
for
determined
that,
by this court.
Star Wars advent? Damn, that
The
sucker
word
took
came out
off, and
before
boy, when
I could stop
did,
it. No,
holy
you
crap.
cannot do this. The evidence proves... Mrs. Brooks, Sinclair interrupted, one more outburst, and I will hold you in contempt. He turned to Marcus. Mr. Brooks, you may collect your daughter from the defendant's custody within 24 hours. He banged his gavel. Court is adjourned. I sat there, frozen, as the courtroom emptied
All right,
around
we'll
me.
see y'all later.
Marcus and his lawyers shook hands, congratulating each other. Tori walked past my table, close enough that I could smell her perfume. I told you, she whispered. There is nothing you can do. Then she was gone. Derek touched my arm. Elena, he said quietly, I am sorry. I am so sorry. I could not
Stack
speak.
and Legos is now
I could not
live.
move.
Streaming
I could
Lego
barely
and brick
breathe.
building. Lego
What
Christmas
happens now?
build.
I finally managed. Now we appeal, Derek said. It will take time, months, maybe years. But we will keep fighting. Months, years. My daughter would grow up without me. She would learn to walk without me. She would say her first words without me. She would forget my face, my voice, my love. And there was nothing I could do to stop it.
Hey,
24 hours later, Marcus
Hello?
came to the motel with 2 police officers. They took Lily from my
Hey,
arms while
by
I
the
begged
way,
and pleaded and cried.
Maria, your
The last thing I heard was her
your,
crying for me as they carried her away.
Bat cave,
And then I
or
was
your
alone.
Bat, what is
The next
Gotham
3
City
months were the
is
darkest
sitting
of my
right here
life.
in my floor.
After they took Lily, I fell apart. I stopped eating. I stopped sleeping. I stopped caring whether I
You
lived
sitting
or
in my
died.
floor.
I went to my
Are you
supervised
excited?
visitations 2 hours every week, watched by a social worker who made notes on a clipboard every time I touched my daughter. I held Lily and sang to her
OMG,
and told her I
yes.
loved her,
Sup
and then I
Daddy
handed her
Legos.
back and went home to an
What
empty
is
motel
good?
room. Each
I am
visit was
building the
torture.
child RN.
Each goodbye ripped my heart
I'm
out of my
building the
chest.
child right
And then,
now.
3
What is
weeks
the
after the
child?
hearing, the first catastrophe hit.
Holy Spirit,
I got a letter from my
activate.
bank.
Holy
My
Spirit,
savings account,
activate.
the
Holy
$47,000 I had
Spirit,
spent
activate.
12 years
Activate.
accumulating had been
Activate.
frozen.
All right, let's go.
Marcus had filed a motion
Yes,
claiming it was
Daddy.
marital property. Until the divorce was
Damn.
finalized, I could not touch a penny. I called Derek in a panic. This is standard, he said, though his voice was tight with anger. He is trying to starve you out. Without money, you cannot fight. Without
Grogu.
money, you have to give up.
No, I just built
What do
him.
I do?
I built him
I
the
asked.
other day.
Find work, Derek said. Any work. Keep your
Legos
head
on that
down
work break,
and do not
baby.
let them see you struggling. They want you to fall apart. Do not give them the satisfaction. So I found work. Not at St. Catherine's. Marcus had made sure
Work break.
I was fired from there. But a small clinic on the other side of town was willing to hire me.
Holy
No
crap,
questions
that's a
asked.
lot of
The
figures.
pay was terrible. The hours were
That's
worse,
my
but it was
store.
something. For 2
After
weeks,
I
I
get
thought
done here,
I
I'll
might
be
survive.
live on my store.
Then the
That
second
ain't nothing.
catastrophe hit. I came home from work one day to find an eviction notice on my motel room door. The owner apologized when I confronted him.
Yeah. After I get
Someone
done
bought
here,
the
I gotta
property,
go
he
over
said.
there. I
He
gotta
would
go
not
make
look me in the eye.
some
New
money.
owner wants everyone out by the end of the week. I knew who the new owner was. I knew, even without proof. Marcus was not just trying to take my daughter. He was trying to erase me from existence.
Money,
I
money,
moved
money.
my few possessions into my
Gotta go
car.
make that money.
For a week, I slept in parking lots and truck stops, showering at a gym I could not afford, and eating from vending machines. I still went to my supervised visitations. I still held Lily and told her I loved her. I still pretended that everything was going to be okay. But inside, I was dying.
Oh, well,
Then the third
hell.
catastrophe hit.
Let me see
The
if I
one
can
that
move
nearly
these
destroyed me
bags.
completely. It was a Saturday, 3 months after the hearing. I arrived at Marcus's house for my scheduled visitation. I had not slept the night before. My car's heater was broken, and the temperature had dropped below freezing. I was shivering and
Yeah, I
exhausted
was live
and
this
holding on to
morning
sanity by my fingernails.
over
But I
there
was
for a
there.
little
I
while.
was always there, because those 2 hours with Lily were the only thing keeping me alive. The social worker, a woman named Janet, let me in. Lily was playing on the floor with blocks, wearing a dress I had never seen, in a room decorated by someone else. She looked up when I walked in, and she did not recognize me. I saw it in her eyes, the confusion, the wariness, the way she looked at me like I was a stranger. 3 months. She was 5 months old now, and in those 3 months, she had forgotten my face. Lily, I whispered. Baby, it is Mama. She started crying, not reaching for me, crying because a stranger was in her space. Tori appeared in the doorway. She was holding a baby bottle, wearing an apron, looking like a picture-perfect mother. Oh, she said, her voice dripping with fake sympathy. She has been a little fussy with strangers lately. Strangers. My own daughter thought I was a
got too much
stranger.
shit.
Something inside me broke. I do not remember leaving the house. I do not remember getting in my car. I do not remember driving. I remember the bridge. I remember standing at the railing, looking down at the dark water. I remember thinking that it would be so easy, so peaceful. One step, and all the pain would stop. One step, and I would not have to fight anymore. One step, and I would be free. Lily does not need you. The voice in my head was cold and logical. She does not even know you. You are nothing to her. You are nothing to anyone. I leaned forward. The wind was freezing against my face. My tears turned to ice on my cheeks. One step. That was all it would take. Then my phone buzzed in my pocket. I do not know why I looked at it. I do not know why that small vibration cut through the fog in my brain. But I pulled out my phone and saw a text from an unknown number. I know what they did to you. I have proof. Meet me tomorrow. 9 a.m. The coffee shop on 5th Street. Come alone. I stared at the message for a long time. It could be a trap. It could be Marcus, trying to finish what he started. But it could also be something else. It could be hope. I stepped back from the railing. Tomorrow. I would see what this person knew.
So what are y'all up to
I would hear
today?
what they had to say. And if it was nothing, if it was just another dead end, I could always come back to this bridge. But tonight, I would live. The coffee shop on 5th Street was small and warm, with the smell of fresh bread and the sound of quiet conversations. I arrived at 8:45, ordered a cup of tea I could not afford, and waited. At 9 o'clock exactly, a woman walked in. She was in her 60s, with silver hair pulled back in a severe bun
I am
and
sick,
sharp
so I've been
eyes
sleeping.
that
Just
missed
woke up.
nothing. She scanned the
Damn,
room,
that's not
spotted
good.
me, and walked over. Elena Brooks, she said. It was not a question. Who are you? I asked. She sat down across from me and placed her hands flat on the table. My name is Diane Brooks, she said. I am Marcus's mother. I stared at her. Of all the people I had expected to send that message, my mother-in-law was not one of them. What do you want? I asked. My voice was cold. I had no reason to trust this woman. She had never liked me. She had never welcomed me into the family. She had always looked at me like I was not good enough for her son. I want to help you, Diane said. Why? I demanded. Why would you help me? You never wanted Marcus to marry me. You never thought I was good enough. Diane was quiet for a moment. You are right, she said finally. I did not think you were good enough. I thought Marcus could do better. I thought a nurse from a middle-class family was beneath him. She paused. I was wrong. I did not know what to say. So I said nothing. Diane continued. 3 months ago, I thought my son had finally found the woman he deserved. Victoria was beautiful, sophisticated, connected. She came from a good family. She had the right breeding. Then I met her child. I frowned. Tori's son. Rosa had mentioned him. Born about 15 months ago, no father listed on the birth certificate. What about him? I asked. Diane's face tightened. He looks nothing like Marcus, she said. When Victoria first told us she was pregnant, Marcus claimed the child was his. He said they had been together for 2 years, that you knew nothing about it, that as soon as the divorce was final, they would get married. But I have been around babies my whole life, Elena. I know what family resemblance looks like, and that child has no resemblance to Marcus. None whatsoever. So, whose child is he? I asked. Diane looked around the coffee shop, making sure no one was listening. I hired a private investigator, she said quietly. I had to know the truth.
I drove an hour and a half.
What he found
and
made me
picked
sick.
up a lot of
She pulled an
Legos.
envelope from her purse and slid it across the table.
No, I drove an hour.
DNA
It was
results,
an hour in the pouring
she said,
down rain. A little
obtained
over an
without
hour.
Victoria's knowledge. That child is not Marcus's son. I opened the envelope and looked at the documents inside. DNA analysis, probability of
Anything
paternity,
good?
a name
Yeah,
highlighted
there's
in
some-
yellow.
There's some
Richard
pretty
Sinclair,
good
the
figures
judge,
in
I
it.
whispered.
I got some
Judge
DC
Sinclair
figures,
is the father of Tori's baby.
some old school Islander
nodded.
and pirate
Her own
figs.
father, she said. They have been having
That's
a
pretty
relationship
cool.
for years. The corruption, the cover-ups, the destroyed families. It was all
Gave
to
50
protect that
bucks
secret.
for the lot.
And my son
I
got
probably
caught up in it
got
because he
I
was
probably
too
got
ambitious and too
30
stupid to
pounds of
see
Lego.
what was really happening. I put the documents down. My hands were shaking. Why are
I'm
you
gonna do
telling
a
me
part
this?
show
I
this
asked.
week coming up.
Because my granddaughter is in that
Sell
house,
all the
Diane
parts.
said. My real granddaughter, Lily. She is being raised by
they're
monsters,
soaking
Elena.
right now.
By
They're
a woman
Holy.
who is sleeping with her own father in a
Yeah.
home built on lies and corruption. Her voice broke slightly. I may not have liked
So
you,
yeah,
but you are
I
Lily's
got some
mother.
Batman
You
figures.
love her. You would never hurt her. And right now,
got
you are the only
couple-
person who can save her from those people.
I got a kite man.
I studied her face, looking for signs of deception.
Got,
But all I saw was
a
fear.
couple
Fear and
Riddlers,
guilt, and something that might have
some
been
Star
genuine
Wars
remorse.
figs was in it. Some
What do you want me to
old
do?
School
I asked.
pirates from the 90s.
Diane
were in
pushed
it.
another document across the table. A name?
Pretty
address?
good for 50
date?
bucks. Yeah.
This is a federal investigator who has
I
been
gotta
building a
steal.
case against Sinclair for years, she said. Her name is Margaret Hayes. She has been waiting for evidence like this. With the DNA results and the recordings Rosa collected, she might finally have enough to bring him down. She leaned forward. But you need to be careful, Elena. These people are dangerous. They have killed before to protect their secret. A journalist named Karen Mitchell started investigating Sinclair 2 years ago. She disappeared. They never found her body. I remembered Karen Mitchell. Rosa had mentioned her. The story that was supposed to expose Sinclair, killed before it could air. They murdered her, I said. Diane nodded. And they will murder you too, if you give them the chance. So do not give them the chance. Go to Margaret Hayes. Give her everything you have, and let the federal government handle the rest. She stood up. One more thing, she said.
It
Her
wasn't
voice
bad,
was softer
though. I
now.
enjoyed it.
I know I have not been a good
Pouring
mother-in-law.
down rain
I know
all
I
the
made
way
you
there
feel
and
unwelcome
all
in
the
our
way
family.
back.
I was arrogant and judgmental and wrong about everything.
And then the way
She met my eyes.
people drive,
But I want
holy
you
shit.
to know that I am sorry, and I am going to do everything in my power to make this right. Then she was gone. I sat alone in that coffee shop, holding the envelope with the DNA results, thinking about everything she had said. A corrupt judge, an incestuous relationship, a murdered journalist, a federal investigation, and me, a nurse living out of her car with nothing left to lose. This was either
I
going to
am
save
sure
my daughter
this is the
or
weather
get
that
me
gets
killed.
people sick.
But at that point, I did not care which one it was. I was done running,
Yeah.
done hiding, done being afraid. It was time to fight back. Margaret Hayes agreed to meet me 2 days later at a federal building downtown. She was tall and sharp-featured, with the look of someone who had seen the worst of humanity and refused to look away. I showed her everything. Rosa's recordings, Diane's DNA results, the pattern of cases in Sinclair's court, the fabricated evidence that had been used against me and the other mothers. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and studied me. "You know what you are asking," she said. "If we go after Sinclair, he will fight back. He will use every resource he has to destroy you. He might try to kill you." "I know," I said. "And you still want to do this?" she asked. I thought about Lily, about her face when she did not recognize me, about the life she was living now, raised by monsters, never knowing that her mother loved her more than anything in the world. "I do not have a choice," I said. "If I do nothing, they have already won. At least this way, I have a chance. At least this way, I am fighting for my daughter." Margaret nodded slowly. "Then we do this right," she said. "We build a case so strong that not even Sinclair's connections can save him. And we set a trap that he cannot escape." Over the next 4 weeks, we put together the operation. Rose's recordings were analyzed and authenticated by federal audio experts. The DNA results were verified by an independent laboratory. The pattern of corruption in Sinclair's court was documented with testimony from 3 of the mothers who had agreed to cooperate. But we needed one more thing. We needed a confession. Margaret explained the plan. "Sinclair is careful," she said. "He never puts anything incriminating in writing. He never discusses his arrangements where they might be overheard. The only way to get him on record is to make him believe he has already won." "How do we do that?" I asked. "You," Margaret said. "You are going to make him believe you have given up, that you have accepted defeat, that you are willing to do whatever he wants in exchange for access to your daughter. And then? And then you are going to wear a wire and get him to confess everything." I stared at her. "That is insane," I said. "He will never trust me. He will know it is a trap. He will trust you because you are broken," Margaret said bluntly. "He has seen it before. Mothers who fight until they have nothing left and then collapse. He will believe you have reached that point because you have. The best lies are the ones that are almost true." She was right. I had been broken. I had stood on that bridge and considered ending my life. The desperation I would show Sinclair would not be an act. It would be real. The operation was scheduled for the following week. I was given a wire so small it was undetectable, hidden in the underwire of my bra. I was coached on what to say, how to steer the conversation, how to stay calm no matter what happened. And then it was time. I went to Sinclair's courthouse during his lunch break. His secretary tried to stop me, but I pushed past her and into his chambers. He looked up when I entered. His face showed surprise, then annoyance, then something darker, satisfaction. "Mrs. Brooks," he said. He gestured for his secretary to leave. "What an unexpected visit. I need to talk to you," I said. My voice was shaking, partly an act, partly real. "About what?" Sinclair asked. He leaned back in his chair, studying me like a specimen under a microscope. "About my daughter," I said. "About what I have to do to see her again." Sinclair smiled. It was the ugliest expression I had ever seen. "So, you have finally come to your senses," he said. I wondered how long it would take. I sat down across from him, my hands clasped in my lap to hide their trembling. "I cannot fight anymore," I said. "I do not have money. I do not have resources. I do not have anything left. I just want to see my daughter." Sinclair nodded slowly. "That is very reasonable," he said. "And not unreasonable. I am not a monster, Mrs. Brooks. I do not enjoy destroying families. I simply do what is necessary to protect the people I care about." He leaned forward. "But you must understand. You have caused a great deal of trouble. You have talked to people you should not have talked to. You have gathered information that could be very damaging if it fell into the wrong hands." "I know," I said. "I am sorry. I was scared. I was not thinking clearly." "I understand," Sinclair said. "Mothers often become irrational when their children are threatened. It is biology. chemistry, nothing to be ashamed of. He stood up and walked around his desk, stopping just a few feet from where I sat. "Here's what is going to happen," he said. "You are going to forget everything you have learned. You are going to destroy any evidence you have collected. You are going to tell the other mothers to stop talking. And in exchange, I will increase your visitation. Perhaps even move toward reunification in time." I looked up at him. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Why go to so much trouble? You are a
Hey, hold
judge.
up a minute. We got something
You have
messed
power,
up.
respect, everything anyone could want. Why risk it all to help your daughter's affair with a married man?" Sinclair's expression flickered. "Just for a moment. Victoria is special," he said. His voice was different now, softer, more intimate. "She has been special to me since the day she was born. Everything I have done, everything I have built, has been for her. I would do anything to protect her. Even frame innocent women," I pressed. "Even take children from their mothers? Even murder a journalist who got too close to the truth?" Sinclair smiled again. "Karen Mitchell was reckless," he said. "She asked questions she should not have asked. Looked into things she should not have looked into. What happened to her was unfortunate but necessary." He leaned down until his face was inches from mine. "Do not be like Karen, Mrs. Brooks," he whispered. "Do not make me do something unfortunate to you." I held his gaze. "I understand," I said. "I will do whatever you want." "Good," Sinclair said. He straightened up. "I knew you would see reason eventually. They all do." He walked back to his desk and sat down. "You may go now, Mrs. Brooks. I will have my secretary send you the new visitation schedule." I stood up on legs that trembled. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you for giving me another chance." Then I walked out of his chambers, down the hallway, out of the courthouse. Margaret was waiting in a van parked across the street. "Did you get it?" I asked as I climbed inside. Margaret was grinning, actually grinning. "We got everything," she said. "The confession about Karen Mitchell, the admission of corruption, his obsession with his daughter, everything." She showed me a screen displaying the audio waveform of our conversation. "Richard Sinclair," she said, "is going to prison for the rest of his life. For 1 week, I believed it was over." Margaret's team worked around the clock, preparing the case against Sinclair. Arrest warrants were drafted, evidence was compiled. A date was set for the operation that would bring down the most corrupt judge in the state. I started sleeping again, eating again, hoping again. Then everything fell apart. It started with a phone call from Derek. "Elena," he said. His voice was strange, tight. "You need to come to my office. Now." When I arrived, Derek was not alone. Margaret was there, along with 2 other federal agents. Their faces were grim. "What happened?" I asked. Derek handed me a newspaper. The headline made my blood run cold. "Federal investigation leaked. Judge Sinclair claims harassment." I stared at the article. It described how a federal investigation into Judge Sinclair had been compromised by a rogue agent seeking to destroy an innocent public servant. It quoted Sinclair's lawyers denouncing the investigation as a politically motivated witch hunt. It mentioned me by name as a disgruntled ex-wife trying to use the government to win a custody battle. "How?" I whispered. Margaret's jaw was tight. "Someone on my team," she said. "Someone I trusted. They tipped off Sinclair. They gave him everything." "Who?" I demanded. "It does not matter," Margaret said. "What matters is that Sinclair knows everything now. He knows about the wire. He knows about the DNA evidence. He knows about the other mothers. And he has had 3 days to prepare his response." She looked at me directly. "The confession is useless now," she said. "His lawyers are claiming it was obtained under duress. They are saying you manipulated him, that you twisted his words, that the recording was edited to make him look guilty. But it was not, I protested. You heard it. He confessed to everything. I know, Margaret said. I believe you, but a jury might not. And without a jury that believes you, Sinclair walks free. I sank into a chair. What about the DNA evidence? Bus evidence, I asked. What about the
y'all
proof
work
that he
hard
fathered his
today,
own daughter's child? Gone,
or hardly
Derek said
work?
quietly. Sinclair's lawyers got a court order sealing the results. They claim it is a privacy matter, and the lab that did the analysis, it burned down 2 nights ago. All records destroyed. I felt the hope draining out of me like water through a sieve. So it is over, I said. He wins.
The later
again.
law.
No one answered. That was answer enough. I went home that night to my
Later.
car, parked in a lot behind a grocery store. I sat in the driver's seat with my head against the steering wheel and cried until I had no tears left. Everything I had done, everything I had risked, all for nothing. Sinclair was going to walk free. Marcus was going to keep my daughter. Tori was going to raise Lily as her own. And I was going to spend the rest of my life knowing that I had failed. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number.
Every
Meet me
time I
tomorrow.
hear this song, I think
Same
of the movie
coffee shop.
Gremlins.
9 a.m.
Ladder.
Ugh.
I have something you need to see. Diane. I almost did not go. What was the point? The evidence was gone.
What
The investigation
up,
was
Vegas?
compromised. Nothing could save me now. But something made me get in my car the next morning. Something made me drive to the coffee shop on 5th Street. Something made me walk inside and sit down at the same table where Diane had first approached me.
Sup.
She was already there. But she was not alone. Sitting beside her was a young woman I did not recognize. She was in her late 20s, with dark hair and nervous eyes. She kept glancing around the room like she expected someone to jump out at her. Elena,
Is it time for a delicious
said.
and tangy dip?
This is Sarah.
Do you
She
like
has
the
something
stream?
to tell you.
Subscribe
Sarah
here.
looked at me.
URL.
Her hands were shaking. I am Victoria's assistant, she said quietly. I have worked for her for 3 years. I have seen things,
Come in.
heard things, things that no one else knows. She pulled out a flash drive and placed it on the table. When the lab burned down, everyone assumed all the records were destroyed, she continued. But Victoria is paranoid. She always keeps backup copies of everything. I found these in her private files. DNA records, financial
I have
records,
arrived stacked. What's for
communication
dinner?
logs. Everything
I don't know.
she and her father have ever
I'm
tried to
thinking
hide.
about
I stared at the flash drive. Why?
probably a
I
bologna
asked.
sandwich.
Why are you doing this? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Because she killed my sister, she said. Karen Mitchell. Karen was my sister. She was investigating Sinclair, and Victoria found out.
Liver
and
and
she,
onions with some buttermilk and
she,
cornbread.
She could
Damn,
not
liver
finish.
and onion.
I understand,
That sounds
I said
so
softly.
nasty.
Sarah wiped her eyes. I have been waiting for the right moment, she said, the right person. Someone who would actually do something with this information.
Let's do it.
When I heard about what they did to you, when I saw
Ew.
how hard you were fighting, I knew you were the one. She pushed the flash drive toward me. This has everything, she said. Enough to put Sinclair and Victoria away for the rest of their lives. Enough to free your daughter. Enough to get justice for Karen and all the other women they have destroyed. She stood up.
With some gravy made
careful,
of turkey
she
neck
warned.
skin to pour over
Victoria knows something is wrong. She has been suspicious for weeks. If she finds out I took those files,
Turkey neck
she did not
skin.
finish the sentence. She did not have to. I will protect you, I promised. Whatever happens, I will make sure you are safe. Sarah smiled sadly. Just get them, she said. That is all I ask. Get them for Karen.
No,
Then she walked out of the coffee shop
I think I'll
and disappeared
pass.
into the morning crowd. I looked at Diane. Is this real? I asked. Can we really win? Diane nodded slowly. This time, she said, this time we can win. The arrests happened
Well,
at dawn.
okay.
Federal agents descended on Richard Sinclair's home at 4:30 in the morning. He was dragged out of bed in his pajamas,
What's for dessert?
handcuffed, and read his rights
Probably
in front of a
nothing.
crowd of reporters who had been tipped off the night before. At the same time, Other teams hit Marcus's house, Victoria's apartment, and the
Probably
offices
not a
of
thing.
Morrison and Associates. Computers were seized.
Can I make a
Documents were
suggestion?
confiscated.
Yeah.
Phones were taken as evidence. I watched it all from a safe distance. Standing with Margaret and Derek and Rosa and Gloria, we were on a hill overlooking Sinclair's neighborhood, watching the flashing lights of police cars paint the pre-dawn darkness in red and blue. "It is really happening," Rosa whispered. "After all these years, it is really happening," I confirmed. At Marcus's house, Victoria was arrested trying to flee through the back door. She was wearing a nightgown and carrying a bag full of cash and jewelry. The officers found my grandmother's necklace around her neck. They took it as evidence, but Margaret promised it would be returned to me eventually. Marcus was more cooperative. He stood in his doorway, in a bathrobe, looking confused and scared, and nothing like the confident man who had served me divorce papers in a hospital room. "There must be some mistake," he kept saying. "I do not know anything. I was just doing what I was told." That excuse did not save him. But the real victory came 2 hours later,
What's the
when I walked
suggestion?
into Marcus's house with a court order and a team of Child Protective Services workers. Lily was in her crib, awake but quiet, watching the chaos around her with wide eyes. I picked her up and held her against my chest, and this time she did not cry. She looked at me, studied my face, said she and Fatim, and then she smiled. "Mama," she said. It was the first time she had recognized me in 4 months. I cried then. I could not help it. I stood in that room full of strangers, holding my daughter, and sobbed like my heart was breaking, which it was. But this time, it was breaking with joy. Over the next few weeks, the full scope of the corruption became clear. Richard Sinclair had been running his scheme for over 20 years. Hundreds of families had been affected. Hundreds of children had been separated from innocent parents. Hundreds of lives had been destroyed for profit and power. The financial records Sarah had given us showed payments totaling over $12 million. Wealthy fathers had paid Sinclair to rule in their favor, to fabricate evidence against their wives, to take children from their mothers as punishment for daring to seek divorce. The communication logs were even worse, they said. They showed Sinclair coordinating with Victoria to identify targets, to manipulate evidence, to silence anyone who got too close to the truth. And they showed something else, something that made even hardened federal agents look away in disgust. The relationship between Sinclair and his daughter was documented in explicit detail. Messages, photos, evidence of a sick obsession that had lasted since Victoria was a teenager. When the story broke, it dominated every news channel for weeks. Judge Richard Sinclair, pillar of the community, exposed as a corrupt monster. Victoria Sinclair, his daughter and accomplice, revealed as his lover. Marcus Brooks, ambitious young lawyer, shown to be nothing but a useful pawn. The public outrage was unprecedented. All 14 mothers, whose cases I had documented, had their custody decisions overturned. Some were reunited with children who barely remembered them. Some received compensation for years of suffering. And some, like Gloria's daughter, Michelle, were honored posthumously, their stories finally told. Gloria was with me on the day of the memorial service. We stood
How
together
about
in
a
front of a
large glass
simple
of 2-week-old
stone
expired
marker,
eggnog with 2
watching as
shots of the
flowers were
cheapest
laid
rum we can
and
find
prayers
put in
were
it?
said.
The final touch is to
"Thank
get some
you,"
scans from the
Gloria
elbows of
whispered.
someone with really
"Thank
bad
you for
rusty
finishing
elbows.
what Michelle started." I squeezed her hand.
Where do you
"We finished
think
it
up
together,"
this
I said.
stuff?
Rosa was given a special
Put
commendation
it
from
in
the
the
FBI for her
Scabs.
years of undercover work.
Second.
She framed it and hung it on the wall of her small apartment, next to pictures of her children
Where
and
in the
grandchildren.
hell do you think up this
"She deserved it,"
stuff?
she said when I visited her. "My children deserved it. All those years of watching and
great.
waiting and hoping, it was worth it." Sarah, Victoria's assistant, was placed in witness protection. I never saw her again, but I heard she was safe, living somewhere far away under a new name. I hope she found
Don't knock
peace.
it till you
I
try
hope
it.
she knew that her sister's death
Yeah.
had not been in vain. And Diane, my mother-in-law, the woman who had never liked me, became an unlikely ally. She testified against her own son, providing evidence that helped secure his conviction. She
I'm
lost
still trying to
everything.
figure out how you
Her
think up
reputation,
all this
her social
stuff.
standing, her place in the community she had spent decades building. But she gained something too. I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, not because she had earned it, but because holding on to anger was exhausting, and I had better things to do with my energy. Besides, she had given me something precious. She had given me the key to getting my daughter back. That was worth more than any apology. 1 year later, I stood in the kitchen of my new apartment, watching Lily take her first real steps. She had been walking for months, technically, toddling from furniture to furniture, holding onto hands and rails and anything else she could reach. But today was different. Today she let go of the coffee table, stood on her own, and walked 3 steps toward me without any help at all. I caught her when she stumbled and swung her up into my arms. "Good girl," I said. "My clever, brave girl." She giggled and grabbed my nose, her latest favorite game. Through the window, I could see the sun setting over the city, orange and pink and purple, painting the sky with colors that made my heart ache with beauty. It had been a hard year, the hardest of my life, in many ways. The trauma did not just disappear because the bad guys were in prison. I still had nightmares. I still flinched when someone knocked on the door unexpectedly. I still checked the locks 3 times before going to bed.
I give up.
I was
You're
in
so
therapy
hard to
now.
please, Stack.
Weekly sessions with a counselor who
I'm
specialized in
still,
trauma
I'm trying to
survivors.
figure out how you
She
think
helped
up
me
all
understand that
this.
healing was not a destination
You
but a
cannot be
journey,
just sitting there
that
thinking
some
this
wounds
all
never
up.
fully closed but could still stop bleeding. I had returned to work at St. Catherine's Hospital. The administration had apologized for firing me, offered my old position back with a raise and back pay. I accepted, not because I needed the money,
Do I
I mean,
but
bring
it's a
because
this?
I
family
loved being a
recipe.
nurse. I
Do I
loved
bring?
helping mothers
Yeah,
bring
right.
their babies into the
There is
world.
no
I
way.
loved being there for women on the hardest and best days of their lives. Gloria had retired, finally, after 40 years of nursing. She spent her days running the Michelle Jenkins Foundation, which provided free legal assistance to mothers facing custody battles. We had lunch together every week, swapping
I have an
stories and
artistic mind.
strategies and the
What can I
kind of
say?
dark humor
I can
that
see.
only people who have survived the worst can truly appreciate. Rosa was a citizen advocate now, working with immigrant families, navigating the legal system. Her children and grandchildren visited her constantly, making up for all those lost years. She cried every time they left, but they were happy tears. And Derek and I had grown closer over the past year. Not romantically, not at first, just 2 broken people who understood each other's pain. 2 single parents trying to raise good kids in a difficult world. But somewhere along the way, friendship had become something more. He was not Marcus. He was not charming, or ambitious, or driven by the need to climb any ladder. He was kind and quiet and steady, the kind of man who showed up every day and did the work without expecting applause. He made me laugh. He made Lily laugh. He made our small apartment feel like a home. We were taking it slow. Neither of us was in any hurry. We had both learned, the hard way, what happened when you rushed into things without really knowing someone. But there was hope now. Real hope. Not the desperate kind that had kept me going through the darkest days. The quiet kind that grows when you plant seeds and water them and trust that something beautiful will bloom. The doorbell rang. I set Lily down and went to answer it. expecting Derek. He was supposed to come over for dinner, bringing his 2 kids and a casserole his mother had made. But it was not Derek at the door. It was a delivery person holding an envelope. "Elena Brooks," he asked. "That is me," I said. He handed me the envelope and left without another word. I looked at the envelope. No return address, just my name, typed neatly on the front. I opened it. Inside was a photograph. Lily, playing in the park last week. I recognized the outfit, the playground, the exact moment the picture had been taken. Someone had been watching us. Someone had been close enough to photograph my daughter without me knowing. I turned the photo over. On the back, in handwriting I did not recognize, was a single sentence. "This is not over." My blood ran cold. Sinclair was in prison. Victoria was in prison. Marcus was in prison. Everyone who had tried to hurt me was behind bars, where they belonged. But they had friends, they had allies, they had people who believed in their cause, who resented what I had done, who wanted revenge. I thought about calling Margaret, about going back into hiding, about taking Lily and running somewhere far away where no one could find us. Then I looked at my daughter, at her smile, at the way she was playing with her blocks, completely unaware of the danger that might be coming. I had spent too much of my life running from my
This
past,
song sucks.
running from my pain, running from the people who wanted to hurt me. No more. I put the photograph in a drawer.
Sucks.
I picked up my phone and called Derek. "Change of plans," I said when he answered. "Can you come over early? Bring the kids, and bring that friend of yours from the FBI. Is everything okay?" he asked. I looked out the window at the beautiful
Now,
sunset.
She probably
"It will
thought
be,"
it was good.
I said. "Whatever comes next, we will handle it together." Because I was Elena Brooks. I was a mother. I was a nurse. I was a survivor. And I had already proven that I could survive anything. Whatever was coming, I would face it head on. I would
You
protect
mean you
my
wouldn't
daughter.
pay to go
I would
see
fight
her?
for the family I had built from the ashes of the one that had been taken from me. And
She
I would
probably
win.
did, but nobody told her the
Because
truth.
that is what mothers do. We fight, we survive, we rise, and we never, ever give up. Call to action, subtle and emotional.
All
Before
right,
we
that's
begin, I
our
want to ask you
advent
something. If this story
for the
resonates with
night.
you, if Elena's fight reminds you of your own battles, do one small thing for me. Hit that subscribe button, not for me.
I
For
would
the
rather
woman
rub
scrolling
used
at
cat
2 in
litter
the
in my
morning
eyes than go
who
see her
needs
in
to hear
concert.
this. For the mother sitting in a courthouse right now, feeling hopeless. For everyone who needs to know they are not alone. Share this video with someone who is going through something hard. Your share might be the lifeline they need today. And drop a comment below. Tell me, have you ever had to fight a system that was stacked against you? I read every single comment, and your story might help someone else find their courage. Now, let us
We're
begin.
on day
Closing disclaimer, this
18.
content
all
has
those
been
cool
carefully
figures.
researched, developed,
Yep,
and manually
that's from
edited
my
by our
store.
team to deliver meaningful storytelling with valuable life lessons.
Day 18.
Every character, every twist, and every moment of triumph has been crafted to inspire, educate, and remind you that no matter how dark things get, there is always a way forward. Thank you for being part of our community.